Ready to get started, Daniel?
Yeah, all set here, Joey.
Great,
All set.
great.
World. It's certainly an exciting time to be a part of NHT, regardless of where you are. And Joe, one of the biggest reasons is we have done so much. We've accomplished so much in 23 years, and virtually no one has heard of us anywhere you go in the world, even within the industry. We are one of, I believe, the biggest secret and silent quiet giant, running giant that's out there within our profession, within our industry. So, some of the things, again, that we're going to share with you today, as most of you know, Joe and I have been partners, as Joe has said, for a long time, longer than a lot of marriages, but we've been in the industry together. Combined, I believe now, Joe, it's about 65 years total combined, full-time career. This has not been a side hustle for us. This has been all we do. This has been our passion. This has been our purpose. This has been us for the last, for me, 35, I guess, Joey, for yourself, 30 years. So what we're going to impart with you today, I think Joe's really going to kick it off here in a second, and then I've got my thoughts here in the end, is it is going to be on two fronts. Joe's going to talk to you a little bit about you getting started off in the business, the things that have really worked for him when he's gone into new markets to start a new market with a brand new person. Doesn't matter if you're in Africa, if you're in Japan, if you're in Europe, if you're in India, if you're in North America, because all of those countries are represented, and probably another 100 more in today's call. But regardless, those fundamentals that Joe's going to talk to you about work no matter where you are in the world. The fundamentals that we're going to talk to you about work regardless of where you come from, regardless of your profession, regardless of your age, regardless of your gender, regardless of anything. Our core fundamentals flat out work. We're closing in, as all of you know, on close to $3 billion in sales since Joe and I launched this company back 22 plus years ago. That's not an accident. That's happened by design. So we're going to talk to you as a brand new person. If you're on this call, if you haven't even joined NHT and you're on this call looking to get some more information, we'll talk to you about what you would need to do, what you would need to do with that brand new person, and starting that group regardless of where you are in the world. The part that I'm going to be talking to you about, and I love it. I mean, there's so many segments of the business that I'm very passionate about, but it's taking your group to the next level. When I say group, if you've got 5 people on your team, you've got a group, you've got a team, you are a leader of that group. So I'm going to talk to you about taking that group that you've got, regardless of the size, wherever you are in the world. What are the key components? What are some of the things that you could do to advance your business, taking it to the next rank, getting yourself to double your check? If you're interested in doubling your check in the next 90 days, don't get off this call. If you're looking at going to the next rank within the next 30 to 90 days, don't get off this call. So these are the things that I'm going to talk to you about that have worked for Joe, for myself, over the last, combined 65 years, but it's really been the last 23 years here together with NHT. So anyways, big shout out to everybody, wherever you are. I'm in Toronto right now, just got back from our Miami home, my wife and I, a couple of months ago. So we're here in the city. Well, not really. We're going to be up at the lake house, the cottage, and that part of Toronto, or part of Canada, soon, very shortly. But we're really looking forward to our call here today. And Joey, with that, back to you, buddy.
Great. Well, Dan, before I get into my training, ladies and gentlemen, I really want to express a couple of philosophies, facts about NHT Global that you can go out and share globally. The biggest thing that NHT has going for us today in today's world is fully transparency. We are 100% transparent because we are publicly traded. So there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people globally that are now getting involved in network marketing, some for the first time, second time, third time. some for the 10th, 15th, 20th time. And it's important that we educate our prospects, educate other network marketers that you may come across, other business people. So let me just share with you, I was on the other day with a top level marketer in our space. He's been involved in 4 or 5 companies over the last 10 years, has had some success, but there has been a pattern there in his life. So all I did was talk about transparency. So think about this. Majority of the companies in this industry are private. Many of them, Dan and I are being exposed to many of them wanting to merge with NH2 Global. There has been a high profile multi-billion-dollar company in our space that we were looking at possibly purchasing last year. And they were well over 20, $30 million in debt. And they were sold at pennies at the dollar. So how can a multi-billion-dollar company become that engrossed in debt? So in 2001, when we launched, when NH2 was launched, and Dan and I were the first people on the applicants, NH2, we had a vision about going global, as most of you know. We had a vision of going into every corner of the world and sending our products to every corner of the world. Dan and I were willing to travel, to invest our own money, which we have, to launch these markets around globally. The advantage to NH2 is NH2's never borrowed money to launch into a market. As you see with our financials, as of last year, we had over close to $100 million cash in the bank. We're completely debt-free. So as companies started to launch in the space, they recognized what we recognized in 2001, that they needed to go global to become a big company. So companies did. They started going global. They started buying leadership globally, which we've done it completely organically. They started investing in these markets. And what did they do? They started borrowing money because they didn't have the cash to launch into these markets. So what has happened for 10, 15 years, 19 years, 20 years, depending on the company, they were borrowing money at a very low interest rate. It was basically free, as we all know. So last year, as of last year, interest rates have grown dramatically. And now companies are not able to sustain, it's no longer free money, and they're not able to sustain the debt load. And now they're looking to be bought out or merge, and not just in our space. You look at the number one weight loss company in the world, a company called Jenny Craig. They were sold about 6 years ago for over $500 million. You know that just as little as 2 months ago, they went bankrupt because they had well over $200 million in debt, which they could no longer service. So many network marketing companies globally are in this space, are struggling with the debt load because of their investing in global markets and not having the cash flow, so they're borrowing the money. So what does that mean to us? Well, I am professing to all the industry now that companies need to be completely transparent, really professing to network marketers, to people around the globe that I'm prospecting, that would you ever invest in a restaurant business, a successful restaurant business, without seeing the financials? Of course you won't. Would you ever invest into a stock? Most people, smart, savvy investors, if you're looking to buy a stock, they're going to look at the P&Es. They're going to go look at the financials, particularly the last 5 to 10 years, to see if this is going to be a good investment. Any business, smart business person or entrepreneur, when loading and investing in business, they're going to, or stocks, they're going to do the research, because it's financial suicide to invest in a business or a stock with no background information. It's just financial, it's suicide. But in network marketing, you've got top, educated, smart people joining companies every day and not understanding or knowing and are ignorant to their financials. Think about that. So yes, why do they do that? Well, it's a small investment in network marketing compared to most traditional businesses. A lot of companies are hyped up, so they believe in the numbers. They're building the business on faith. But think about it. With time, the only thing that we don't have that we cannot change in our lives is time. So I'm not going to put any time into anything if I don't have the numbers, if I don't have the financial aspect. Because if I build a business for 5 years, 10 years, and that company goes under or is sold, now that affects my financial future. So all those 10 years that I put into my blood, sweat, and tears and the travel has gone away. So this is the advantage that we have in NHT Global, that we're completely transparent. The good, the bad, the ugly, the great is allowed for everyone to see globally. And if you go to ynht.com, this is our prospecting site, you'll see a list of all our awards, everything that we've accomplished since 2015. And when you look at that list, you'll say, oh my God, this company is going places. The other thing you need to understand about NHT now is where companies in this space are cutting down countries. You know, they're going from 20, 30 countries to 20 countries to 15 countries. They're cutting down. This multi-billion-dollar company has closed down 12 companies that I was talking about. That's countries that was sold just a few months ago. They're cutting their losses. Where NHT is not only introducing new products, top of the line products, whether MetaBoost and our collagen product that's launched globally, a game changer collagen product, a game changer MetaBoost product. We're expanding our product line. We're introducing new markets, as Bolivia and Colombia has been announced very shortly. And we all got overseas, we've got Thailand just around the corner. So we are expanding markets. We're fulfilling the vision that Dan and I had back in 2001, and we're continuing to do that. And we're doing that being debt-free. This is the message that you got to get out to people. You know, if they're signing up with XYZ company, you're crazy in joining a company, no matter what hype they have behind them, without seeing transparency, without seeing their numbers, without being completely transparent. So what I'd like to talk about, as Dan had shared with you, and I would recommend in these trainings, again, go back to this recording when we send it out and watch it over and over again, because the stuff that we're going to talk about, you know, I have absolutely no notes. Dan has no notes. We're going to be sharing our experience plus 65 years in this industry, not just out of our homes and our offices, traveling the world into different cultures, you know, away from our families and building the business step by step with integrity. So I was in Sweden a couple of weekends ago, incredible event. And a few days before the event, I sat down and booked appointments on the half hour. So that day I had numerous people that had one-on-one time with me, new prospects, distributors. And the number one question that I asked all of them, every single one of them, is what is your dream? You know, that 99% of them had responded. Most of them just hesitated because they had to think about it. Number one. Number two, they ended up telling me a couple of things. They want to become financially independent, or they want to get out of debt free. So that will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that the number one problem in the world still today, since the beginning of time, is prosperity and abundance. We're living in a world that's so full of prosperity and abundance. Never in the history of mankind and womankind have we experienced this prosperity and abundance. But why are so many people struggling? Why are so many people struggling with the basic concept of money? And, you know, I can go on for 10 hours on this topic, but the key to life and many of you have seen me say this over and over again. You've seen Dan say this. The key to life is what we focus on is what we attract in life. Every single global ambassador in our space here in NH2 Global had a dream, and the dream was very specific. So you cannot build a dream based on the lack that you're having in life. The dream has to be very specific. You know, what I would recommend that you go to my book, Your Best Year Ever, read it. It's only about 15 minutes. On this topic, I go specifically why your dream needs to be specific. It's the key to life. It's the key to having great relationships. It's the key to mastering this business and becoming a global ambassador and moving up in ranks and creating prosperity and abundance for you and your team. If your team is struggling, I can guarantee you one thing is many of them don't have it. Many of them don't have a reason why they're joining the business. Many of them, their dreams are not specific. So I'll tell you my story. Many of you know my story. And it's the reason why I attracted and manifested NH2 Global and manifested this industry. So back in 1992, as of yesterday, I've celebrated my 30th year. I can't believe it in the industry. In 1992, I was managing a squash, racquetball club, fitness club. It's a multi-purpose facility. I did very well. I made the owners millions of dollars. The owners came to me and told me Christmas '92 that they were going to sell the club. Thank you very much, Joe. I thought I was going to have some. Profit sharing, and it didn't happen. So I promised myself at that moment that I would never work for someone else again. I realized I was building someone else's dream instead of mine. You know, thinking back all these years later, I thought, Joe, you were you were very stubborn. I was newly married. I just had a kid, became a father. I remember going back to my wife and said, dear, I'm never going to work for someone else again. And I looked her in the eyes, and I can imagine the fear that she must have had. You know, he's never going to work for someone else again. What are we going to do? And, you know, during that next year, 1993, I don't know what compelled me, but I came home one afternoon and I started to write down what I wanted my life to look like 10 years from that moment. That half an hour exercise changed my life forever. I fell in love with my dream right then and there. Just a piece of paper. I fell in love with that dream. It became my purpose in life. It drove me to become a better father, a better husband, a better person, a better entrepreneur. So I'm in my local library. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm studying business, you know, at that time, and I was getting desperate financially, I got to tell you, but I was so focused on what I'm going to do. I was focused on my dream. And get this, a gentleman came into the library and he bumped into me. And again, in the library, you're not even supposed to talk. We exchanged business cards, and he introduced me to the world of network marketing. I was invited to a meeting June 23rd, 1993. Dan Catto was one of those speakers that day. I'm sitting in the back of the room with my brother. I brought my brother with me. I wanted to get his opinion. And within a couple of minutes, I didn't need my brother's opinion. I had one of those like born again Christian moments. I've never been born again, but the feeling of love, the feeling of the dream, it was the vehicle to my dreams from head to toe. I knew God was speaking to me. And this is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you find a dream, a purpose in life, you know, all the powers of the universe will start to work for you. So critical when you start someone in the business. You know, I manifested my dream. So rejection, which I got a lot of, disappointment, which I got a lot of, struggle, which I had a lot of. I overcame because my dreams were stronger and bigger, and I wanted it more than all the disappointments and the negativity that I was experiencing over the years. And you wouldn't believe the kind of disappointments that we've had. Dan and I had to rebuild NHT several times in the first couple of years. We had so many difficulties over the years, but we overcame them because great leaders overcome crisis. Our dreams were bigger than anything that came our way. So if you don't help your leaders, your people that are signing up in the business, the new markets that you're going on with their dream, to know exactly what their purpose is, the struggle, the business is hard, any business is hard, the rejection will take them out of the business. Guaranteed, all of us have experienced this, and this is the magic of life. So if you were all to get something out of this webinar today, this training today, please take the time like I did in 1992. Start writing down what you really want. Be very specific and take that one master dream, very specific, and great things will happen to you. The business, you're going to start to attract the right people. Dan Cattle for many years. And in 1993, I saw this. 94, 95, 96, as I started working with Dan. This front page of his planner was his dream home in a warm climate that he was going to spend his winters in. No wonder Dan built a massive business. No wonder Dan manifested, because that was his purpose in life. And he accomplished that here with NHT Global, and he's been going down to his dream home down in Florida every winter in Miami. The most important training when you're launching in a new market, when you're launching a new distributor, the most important training, I can't emphasize or overemphasize how important this is getting people started correctly. Thanks to our great leader here in North America, Andres Papakostas, we've actually upgraded our Getting Started training guide, which you can now get on Steam Team under steamteam.ca, our global training site, under First 90 Days. And we walk you through a step-by-step analysis guide in helping you get started in the business and the people that you start in the business. So it's so important when you're building this business that this is the one training that needs to be duplicated, because if you don't duplicate this part of the business, what happens is 5 people down the road, 10 people down the road are starting to do their own stuff. Rejection will take them out of the business, and you're going to constantly rebuild the business over and over and over and over again. People will be going out that way. You're going to be bringing in new people. So to help with the retention, to tell the truth, you need to walk people through the getting started process. We made it simple for you. I know many groups around the globe, like Europe, they have their own app with their getting started training. Around the globe, we have different leaders that have similar getting started training, but it's quite simple. The getting started training process. I'd recommend you go to steamteam.ca, download the guide. There's also audio training on that, taking you step by step and why this is important. Also on this guide is how to help your people contact their best prospects. So for those of you who are new, we all have sales filters built into us. So for example, when we walk into a store, it doesn't matter if you're in Prague, Czech Republic, here in Toronto, Miami, over in India, you walk into a store wanting to buy something, and that salesperson comes in and says, "Can I help you?" The first thought in your mind pops up is, "I'm just looking." And the reason why is we love to buy things, but we hate to be sold. So what I've done is I've created some scripts, because most new distributors don't know what to say. They say way too much. They don't know where to point people to get more information. They think they need to be a complete product specialist in the business, which is not the case. So you got to remember, what we do with other people and how we share the business, how we share the product, is what people feel how they have to do the business. So it's important to follow these scripts. I made it quite easy. For example, you know, this script, this first script. Hi, Chris, I wanted to share you my excitement about an incredible global proven business model where business people just like you are doubling their income in a year or two without changing their lifestyle. Would you be open for more information? That specific script is great for business people, because what do business people want? Or entrepreneurs, they want to make more money. So their top values in life is, I want to make more money, especially with men. Men are more money oriented. It goes back to the caveman principle. If we don't, when we were cavemen and we didn't know how to hunt very well, our families would starve. In our society, men, if they don't do well with money, they will struggle with self-esteem. So men are always wired, in most cases, towards the money part of any kind of business. So this actually targets their heart, which is the money. You know, so I've got several scripts there that will help you bypass the sales filter. You can just text it, you know, and they really work. And you can also do that on social media. We've got a lot of great trainings on Steam Team and how to approach people through social media. So moving on, I want to talk about our daily method of operation. I'm a big believer, and Dan's going to speak more about this. I'm a big believer in having routines. All success isn't anything, it's successful habits repeated over time. Successful habits repeated over time. So for many, many years now, I've created habits, which I've learned from top achievers like Dan, that has allowed me to get the results in life. Yes, it can be redundant. Yes, it can be somewhat boring, but those simple disciplines that I've created, those habits. So for example, if you want great teeth, I learned how to manage my teeth where I'm going to get the maximum results, less cavities, less dental work, and I maintain that by simple disciplines. For example, I brush my teeth twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. I floss every day. I see the dentist every 6 months for a cleaning and a checkup. So those 3 habits I do every day, and I maintain that on a daily basis, and seeing my dentist every 6 months has helped me maintain great health with my teeth. Okay, so for my personal development, every day for the last 23 years, for the last 30 years, I've spent an hour a day on my mindset, an hour a day on my attitude, an hour a day on my abundance and prosperity. I have not missed a day. It's been one of my musts that I do on a daily basis. The challenge today, guys, and I really want to help you become aware of this, in today's world, where information is bombarded at us, we go down the rabbit hole. You know, my wife and I went out to dinner in downtown Toronto last night in a Brazilian steakhouse, and I was watching the people around, and majority of them were on their phones. Were on their phones, down the rabbit hole of reels on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. What is happening in today, we have to be aware, is the junk that's being sent to us through social media, through the TV. It's always been the TV. Now on the internet, it's just locked us down. And then if you just tie into one video and you've seen that, the algorithms will continue to pour that same information to you. This is why during the pandemic, COVID conspiracies and all conspiracies over the last 5 years, just went up 100 times. It was crazy. The people went down that rabbit hole. So what happens is when you feed yourself with toxic information, it's going to affect you with your dream. It's going to affect you in prospecting. It's going to affect your attitude. And then it'll also change your brain chemistry, and you'll start to attract health challenges. You'll start to attract challenges in life because the toxicity that has been given to you, just keep in mind, social media is there too. They recognize that if you can scare someone, send fear to someone, it will lock them into looking at things more and more. They'll spend more time on there. If you inspire someone, unfortunately, it's not as great as the fear part. So most of the people in the world that don't have a purpose, that don't have a focus in life, that don't have a dream, they go down that rabbit hole of fear and worry. And guess what? This is what they continue to attract. I'm telling you, the last 30 years of me spending an hour a day has changed me. I look at things so much different. So for example, yesterday, we had a really rainy day. I was at one of my cousin's house downtown Toronto yesterday, and he's got a multi-million-dollar view overlooking Hyde Park. It's a beautiful park here in the Toronto area. And I sent it out to some of my cousins to see his lifestyle. And most of them told me, instead of saying, wow, what a beautiful view and everything else, all they talked about was it was foggy, it was a horrible day, et cetera, et cetera. And I responded, you need rain. You need these days for nature to flourish. So when you are spending the time on yourself, working on your attitude, working on your leadership skills, you'll overcome disappointment. You'll start to see things differently. The number one challenge in our business is, I see it all the time, is that leaders sabotage their life. They sabotage their business because of their communication, because of what they're feeding their mind. So last thing, I know Dan has gone a little overtime here, is the routine, the last routine that I have built into my business every day for the last 30 years is I'm always sharing the product and the business to people every single day. This is a must. This is where we make money in the business. As a global ambassador, I could have stopped doing this 10, 15 years ago, but I continue to share the product in the business. So think about the power of one. If you just talk to one new person a day for the next 365 days, it's easy to do. It takes 5 minutes. You can find someone on the internet to expose some of my scripts to them. Just one person a day. Just think about it. 365 people you expose the business and product to. Let's say only 10% of them say yes, which is about a good ratio there. 10%. You'll have 36 new people that have joined your business and become a customer. And let's say 2 of them out of 36 see the vision that you have and duplicate you and want to go global ambassador, have a big dream. Think about what's going to happen to your business. Let's say you have 5 members on your team. Just speak to one new person a day. Believe me, if you have a dream, not based out of fear, but based on what you want, that one person a day becomes easy. So if you just do one person a day and duplicate that, you will flourish. You will go up in rank. That's really the secret. The main secret to NHG global ambassadors are the ones that have hit 8th rank, 7th rank, 6th rank. They're consistently sharing the product and business. They have a game plan every single day, but just one person a day. Easy to do, easy not to do. It's easy not to do when you don't have a dream and a purpose, that your problems in life take you over. It's easy to do when you have a vision, when you have a purpose, when you have a dream. Just one person a day. The challenge with most people, they get to 50 people, 60 people in a year, and they think, oh my God, I'm doing the business. That's just a hobby, ladies and gentlemen. They quit after 60 people because they got rejected. Think about it. If you owned a restaurant, I know we got a great restaurant owner in India, Zubino, and Zubino is a 5th-ranked distributor. She owns a few restaurants. If she just had 50 new people come into her restaurant in a year or 2 years, she gets it, her business would fail. Network marketing in NHT Global is no different. One person a day. Imagine if you had 10 people in your team, just did one person a day. That's 3,650 exposures. Where would your business be? We have an obligation, guys, with the stores that we've had globally, with our product lines, with our income stories, here within NHT Global, the magical stories that we have. We've been blessed. We have an obligation. That's where my mindset is, to share the world. So many people, millions and billions, are looking for NHTs. So many people are looking for NHT's products, NHT's business opportunity. They are praying to God right now for that blessing to come to them. So we have an obligation. Don't keep it a secret. We have an obligation. I promise, if you don't keep it a secret and you have that purpose, great things are going to happen in your business over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So Dan, I'll turn it over to you, and looking forward to your training.
Great job, my friend. Am I coming through okay? Can you hear me all right?
Yes, you're awesome.
Great. Joe, great job. My quick message here and to all of you is really, as Joe has shared with you, in getting started, critical to have that dream. So important. I went through that 35 years ago when I got involved in the industry, and Joe and I together back in 2001, our dream and our vision here with NHT and where we wanted to go and what we wanted to accomplish, having that dream and having that vision, but so importantly, knowing what you really wanted, helped you overcome all of those obstacles and challenges as you went along. But what I wanted to focus in on here with you, with everyone, best I can as a group, when you have an organization, regardless of the size of your team, if you've got 3 people on your group, you've got 5 people on your team or your organization, you've got a group. If you've got 20 people, 50, 100, it doesn't matter. These are the things that I wanted to talk with you about that would help you take your group to the next level. So the biggest thing that I saw when I got started in the industry is what my mentors were doing. And I watched what they did. I listened to what they said, but I really watched what they did. The main guy that I followed in my early years of the industry, the single biggest thing that I saw from him was that he was the hardest worker in the company. There was no one working harder than him. He had the biggest check. He had the largest organization. He didn't really have to work because of the residual income that he was getting from it, from his organization and his business. But the biggest thing that stood out in those early days and after 3 years and after 5 years is that he was still the hardest worker in his organization. He was still the one that would share the most product, share the opportunity the most, sponsor the most people front line. He was the one that was out in the front, that was sponsoring the most people front line more than anybody else in the organization within our company. I saw that 35 years ago for a 5-year run that never left me. I realized for my organization, for me to have a group that was going to scale to the level that I ultimately wanted to, is that I had to be the hardest worker. I had no problem with that. When I got started off in the industry 35 years ago, I was broke, living with my parents on government assistance, not in a good financial position. I wanted to do, and I had to do, whatever it took to get my life out of where I was. So hard work, being coachable, and just being a student and being very disciplined in my fundamental habits was something I was really focused on doing. And it was easy for me to do because I wanted to get out of where I was so bad. When I've taken it, Joe, that was a very good point about people getting their organization maybe to 60 people or 100 people, and they think they've arrived. We have seen that. Joe and I have seen that over and over and over again in this industry, and the same thing here with NHT. We've had our people come back to us, leaders in different countries around the world, wondering why their business has plateaued. That will happen. That is a part of the cycle. But for a lot of you, and I'm talking to a lot of leaders that are out there that have been at a certain rank for a while, take a look in the mirror. I'm talking to you hard here. Is take a look and see what you're doing, because your people will be doing what you're doing. If you're sharing the product, your people will be sharing the product. If you're talking to new people, your people will be watching you and they will be talking to new people. If you're sponsoring brand new people frontline, golds and platinums, your people will be doing the same thing. One of the biggest challenges that you'll have here is that management mode. People getting to a particular level and they get stuck in where they are. They stop doing the things that got them there in the first place. And that is one of the things that I have found, that if people have really hurt themselves in the business, as Joe has called it, the Hollywood stage or the Hollywood phase, is they feel that they've arrived. Now, there certainly is a level that you can get to in our business, depending on certainly your goals, your dreams, and your vision, and what you want for your team and your group. But if you want to get to the next rank, if you want to take your check to the next level in terms of income and where you want to be, there's things that you would need to do. Don't wait for your group to do it. You do it. Now, the company is doing this. And if you take a look at a lot of organizations, here are some things that have helped boost an organization that the company provides in terms of resources. Now, I've always felt this. It's not a lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness. So we have the resources and the tools around us. Take a look at the tools that we've got that can help elevate your team, your organization. Anytime we have a new product introduction, don't wait for your group to all start ordering the product. You be the first one to get on that product and have that product story. You want to be the first one to do it. So the company is always introducing new products. We'll introduce 3 to 4 to 5 to maybe half a dozen new products every year. As you know, Joey just talked about 2 of the new products that we just introduced in MetaBoost and Collagen in a lot of our markets. So take advantage of that. So the big thing is that these tools that are available for us, the company provides, maybe the organization is providing for you. When I say organization, Joe has provided a lot of incentives and tools through our leadership. Take advantage of that. But there are so many things that we have, core tools that can really help elevate your team. One, again, is the product, and you being the first one to get on that product. Also, number 2 is incentives. Anytime that we have got a new incentive, this is a huge tool to help elevate your team and your group. But don't wait for your group your team to qualify for the incentive. You be the first one to qualify for that incentive. Whatever incentive that might be, you want to be the first one to do it. Don't wait for your team and your organization. Lead from the front, not from the back. Okay, how about the events? When we have an event that's going to be happening, that's coming into your market, or we got an event like this particular call, you don't wait for your team to get registered for that. You want to be the first one registered, and you get the most personally sponsored or personally invited people to that event. Joe has talked to you about this. I'll never forget, way back in our early days, Joe has talked to you a lot about his lack of skills when he got involved in the industry. He lacked in confidence at the front of the room. He felt skills in terms of public speaking. But let me tell you what Joe could do. He always had a brand new person, and he was sitting at the front of the room at every opportunity meeting, every training, and at every event. Every event, Joe may have been not the most gifted public speaker when he got started. He's now a legacy and an icon in the industry, and that certainly happened over time because of what he has done. But at every meeting, every event, every time we had any type of training, Joe would have the most people sitting in the front row that he personally brought. As his group grew, he didn't wait for his group to bring people. He still brought the most people to the training, the event, the opportunity meeting, whatever it was. So from a product standpoint, you be the first. Incentive, you be the first. At an event, you want to get as many people as you personally can to that next event or onto these calls. It is one of the biggest things that will help advance your business. Now, how about the trips? These trips will change your life. One, they're just an absolute blast. Every time we go away, it's nuts. We should be on the Styles of the Rich and Famous when we do these NHT trips. They're nuts. They're insane. They're just so much fun. I mean, this is 5-star stuff that we've got that's going on. But one of the best things that I ever got from going away on these trips when we traveled over the years was I always got together with my mentors, the people that were ahead of me that I wanted to get to the same rank that they were at, get to the same level that they were at, get to the same income level that they were at. What did I do at these events? What did I do with these exotic trips that we would go away on? I would get together with them, take them out for coffee, get together with them at lunch, sit down by the pool, sit down by the lounge chair on the beach, whatever it was, and I'd bond with them, spend time with them, talk with them. I'd spend as much time as I could. And believe me, that is one of the biggest and best things that you could do when you're going away on these exotic trips that we can all qualify for. So let's go back to that. In terms of the trips, you be the first one to qualify for the trip. You have the most personally sponsored people qualifying for that trip. And if you want to get yourself to the next rank, if you want to get your check, if you want to double your check and where you are in the next 90 days, you double the number of people qualifying for the next incentive. Double the number of people that you had from the last trip. If you had 3 people on your team qualifying for that trip, have 6. If you had 20 people personally at the last event, have 40 at the next event. At your next meeting, if you personally had 5 people, have 10. Whatever you need to do in terms of these incentives, tools, the products, the events, the exotic trips, double the activity, watch what happens to the productivity. Action comes before the results. You get the results, you'll get the lifestyle. So it all comes back to how bad do you want it on the front end. So if you want to take your business to the next level, you have to lead from the front and do all of these simple things which take a lot of work. Take a look at the last 30, 60, 90 days. The last 30, 60, 90 days. What have you done in terms of personal activity to help advance your team, your organization, but personally? How many people have you shared the product with? But more importantly, take a look at it. How many golds or platinums have you sponsored in the last 30, 60, or 90 days? How many products have you shared? How many times have you shared the opportunity? How many people have you had? Did you get to the last event? You may have attended the event, but did you attend the event by yourself or did you bring people to that last event? Did you attend this event today by yourself? How many people did you personally get on to this call today? So if you take a look at what you've done over the last 30, 60, 90 days, it will dictate what you're going to have in the next 30, 60, 90 days. If you haven't done much, you're not going to get much. If you've done a lot, you're going to get a lot. It's a core fundamental, and it's a life law. It's 101. So the journey is not easy. It's going to take some work, but it's worth it. It's an awful lot of fun. And again, you will have challenges. You'll have obstacles. Just looking at our time here, Joe, and I want to respect that. But a couple of things here in just wrapping up that is so important to understand in terms of our journey. We have had 23 blessed, incredible years here together, all of us as a family and as friends, as partners. For a lot of us as leaders, you need to really understand that and get this, and I know so many of you do. Sometimes I'm only hearing from you when it's one of two things: when it's been absolutely incredible, or there's a crisis. Well, let me share with you. Both happen. Through this journey, it's inevitable we're going to have a crisis. Inevitable that you're going to encounter a crisis. You'll have crisis in your life, regardless of it, this business or outside of this business. But let me tell you this: poor leaders, and crisis is built in. That is built into the journey. But poor leaders are destroyed, crushed in a crisis. Good leaders will survive a crisis. Great leaders will thrive in a crisis. And that crisis will become their future, their purpose. Let me give you an example. My first crisis that I had 35 years ago, when I got started off in this industry, I got started in June of 1988. I was living with my parents on government assistance. My wife had left me. I was going through a divorce. I was deathly sick. I had just gotten out of the hospital. I'd been there for 2 months with a health challenge, colitis and Crohn's disease. I'm at home, and I got started off in this industry. I found my dream, as Joe was talking to you about. I was nuts because I saw two things. One, I believed I could do this, and number two, that I really believe there was certainly an opportunity here. But I have really found my dream, my purpose. My first crisis was this. I went for the first June, July, and August of 1988. I was taught to keep this business simple. I did. My sponsor and my mentor said, Dan, you provide the people, we'll provide the presentation. Share the product, share the opportunity. That's all you do to focus on. That's all you do. Keep it simple. And I worked hard. I did. I didn't even have to do the product presentations in the beginning. I didn't have to do the business presentations. I didn't have to do the trainings. I didn't have to do the conference calls. I didn't have to do anything for 3 months. I just filled the room, and I would just fill the call. And when I say the room, if it was a home meeting, it was a home presentation. We had hotel presentations back then, 3 of them a week. I would constantly, personally have the most people there. 3 months went by, and I got my check. Gang, think of this. 35 years ago, I got my check to $17,000 a month. 35 years ago. That's not bad money today. It was nuclear back then, especially when you're broke and you don't have anything. My business is growing. My dream is opening up in front of me. And it was the end of August, after 3 months, my sponsor came to me. His name is Doug. He was from the United States. He had moved to Toronto, lived in a hotel to help build a business. He was virtually doing every presentation, every conference call, handled every objection, every challenge. He did virtually everything. All I did was provide the people and share the product, and everything was great. Doug said to me, Dan, and he told me to say, we had a talk. He said, Dan, I'm going back home. I'm going back to Casper, Wyoming, where there's more antelope than people. And he said, I'm going back there, and I'm leaving, and I'm leaving next weekend. I said, okay, great. Are you coming back next week? And he said, no. I thought, okay, you coming back in a few weeks? He said, no. And I said, when are you coming back? And he said, I'm not coming back. It's your business. That night, I cried. I was crushed. I thought I was done. I thought it was all over. This massive obstacle that was in front of me. And take this down and write this down. A great book out there for you to read. It's called The Obstacle is the Way. The Obstacle is the Way. Get the book. The premise from this is that your obstacle will be your purpose. That day When Doug left, within 24 hours, I realized I had to step up. I had to do the product presentations. I had to do the trainings. I had to do the meetings. I had to handle the objections. I had to become the leader. It was his business for 90 days. It was now Dan's business, and it never stopped. That became my future because of that obstacle that I overcame. So whatever obstacle that you have, it is really your future, and it can be your purpose. You have all the resources around you to leverage from, to take your group, your team to the next rank, to the next, get yourself to the next check, to do what you need to do for your family. And I can't stress that part of it enough in terms of the challenges, the obstacles, and what you have, that they can be and they will be your purpose and your future. So when I look back at that, and I looked at what happened to me 35 years ago, and I went through that challenge, that obstacle, I eventually passed my sponsor, and I had the largest organization within that company, and it took me about 2.5 to 3 years. But if that hadn't happened, if that sponsor of mine, his name was Doug, who lived in Casper, Wyoming, if he had remained in Toronto at that time, I would have not grown. And I had to grow. I became a man that day. I became a leader that day. So if you want to look at your group and your team, and you want to see where they're going to go over the next 30, 60, and 90 days and 6 months and helping you get to the next rank, it's what you do. So if you do what you have to, again, for the next few years, you can do what you want to for the rest of your life. Joey, with that, I believe, lastly, we have, over the next 48 hours, qualification for the IRP and the monthly rewards. Is that correct? Obviously.
Yes, 100%.
I'll let you wrap up with that. So
Yes,
thanks, my
so
friend.
great job as usual. Awesome. One quick question, we'll end with this. And one of the things that I find, and you have found, we've spoken about this a million times, is self-worth. It is an epidemic as human beings. We see it a lot of times in our business world, where people sabotage their success. They get to third rank, fourth rank, fifth rank, and moving on, and they just completely sabotage their success. And when it comes down to it, they don't feel that they belong there. Their self-worth hasn't changed. So what have you done? I know your dad, who was a very famous minister, I'm sure he talked about this many times on the pulpit. What do you feel is the best way to overcome that through your journey?
Well, yeah, thanks. Thanks for those kind comments on my dad. Yeah, he was a United Church minister, a missionary over in Africa. Spent 5 years in Africa. We were in the Canadian North for 2 years in the Arctic. I did as a young boy. But the biggest thing I gained from my father was his passion. He had a passion and a dream to serve. And that was to, the good book says, to achieve greatness, serve the many. And we certainly have that same vehicle and opportunity here. It has been said that, your lifestyle, your income will never exceed your self-image and how you see yourself. I believe that one of the fastest ways to help your self-image is by surrounding yourself as much as you can with people that are at a level that you want to get to, spending as much time as you can with them. I've done that, and it's modeling. It's been the fastest, quickest, from public speaking to lifestyle to health to relationships, marriage, spiritual, just about every aspect and level of life. Back when 35 years ago, when my health wasn't good, my personal life wasn't good, in terms of relationships, my spiritual life was it was nuts. All of these things. I had mentors and people that I would model myself after in all of these areas. And I guess the one that I had that was one of my probably my universal one was my great grandfather, who lived to nearly 100, who was water skiing up until he was 90 on one ski. He was just an incredible man. I got pictures of him all around here in my office. And again, I guess to answer it, directly and quickly, at in, improving your self worth and your self image is surrounding yourself with good, positive people that are at a level and at a space and at a place that you want to get to. I know you've done that. I've certainly done that, and we continue to do that. And I think one of the sabotages is and we've talked about it. You did, and then I did, is that people will get to a certain level and they stop growing. When I talked to the guy that was my original mentor way back, and I asked him a number of years ago, I said, now what? He says, well, number one, don't ever forget where you came from. Always remain humble, but don't ever, ever, ever stop growing. And I really believe that people that get to a plateau, a rank, if you want to use that as a measure here, and we certainly are in this call, is that they stop growing. They stop doing, and they just stop. And I've seen that with my grandfather. He kept going, at 97, 98. My father, he kept going. The people that I really, really admire in this world from a business standpoint that are senior to me in age and what they've accomplished, they just keep going and growing. And you know what? They don't complain. You said that to me a day or two ago, and boy, is that ever such a wasted emotion, complaining. And that's in the good book, complaining, murmuring, all of that. It is such a wasted emotion. So, yeah.
I'll add one thing to that, and I go back. I rarely look at my past. I know we have to go here, but I rarely look at my past because when you're stuck in the past, no matter how many great successes, disappointments or whatever it is, if you focus on your past, you can't move forward. So I'm always cleansing every day where I'm focused on what do I do next? What do I do next? I've got that burning fire within me. So I go back to that meeting, June 23rd, 1993. And I thought about this yesterday, and you were training. There was a bunch of trainers on that Saturday, and you were training, and you obviously resonated with me in that training. But after the meeting, I was watching this because I learned to observe, model. Anthony Robbins in Unlimited Power, that the chapter that he had in modeling, he says the quickest way to success is model the attitudes, the philosophies, and the actions of the people that you want to be where they are at, right? So I read that book and I was watching you, and I just saw all these people gravitate towards you at the end of the meeting, and everybody else was all the other speakers had maybe one or two people. And I thought, what's different about this guy? And after several months, after a year, and I thought about it, and I go, now I understand, is that word serve. Your greatest gift back then and still today is that you made people feel great about themselves. Your attitude was resonating at a certain level where you made people feel good about themselves. That's why, whether it's charisma or whatever it is, that's how you gravitated, because were serving people. You were focused on serving people. And if you take this in our business, if you're struggling with self-worth, just focus on serving people, helping people get better. And what ends up happening is you will grow your self-esteem. You'll grow your self-worth. Go out and volunteer at a soup kitchen. I've done that for 30 plus years. It's been my greatest, I rarely talk about it, but I go to a soup kitchen. I work in the kitchen. I do their Christmas store every year, and I'm loading trucks and cars. And number one, it makes me feel good about myself. That's number one. That's why you do it. Because when you serve others, it creates a dopamine in your mind, and you're making a difference. You feel you're making a difference, makes you feel good about yourself. When you feel good about yourself, you raise your self-esteem, you raise your self-worth. So serve others. If your focus in our business is all about money, what happens is you will go through those struggles. You'll be paddling upstream instead of downstream. If you focus on serving others, your business will grow. You will have an incredible, you'll never sabotage your business. You'll grow your self-worth, and you'll feel that you're making a difference. When you feel you're making a difference, that's how you move up in rank, serving others. So that was your greatest gift, Dan. And that's one of our personal, leadership philosophies, is we make people feel special, no matter what their rank is, their background, who they are. If you make people feel special, that's what our business is all about. You're going to have a long run here in our business. And if you look at a lot of our leaders, they have the same philosophy. We're 2 years in the business here with NHT, and our vision, and I'll end it with this, ladies and gentlemen, our vision is to continue to grow all over the world. Our vision is to help as many people get to a point where they believe that God does not make junk, that they can accomplish anything that they point their minds to. Our vision is to help people serve others around the globe. And when you focus on that, we're 30 years from now, 50 years from now, the legacy will be created. So for those of you who are new on here or watching this in the future, if that resonates with you, please get back to the person who invited you to this training and join our team, and reach out to Dan and I and the other leaders, and we'll welcome you with open hearts. So a big hug to all of you for spending your day, your Saturday, no matter where you are in the world. We love you very much. And Dan, your last words?
As I've always said, if what you want is greater than the resistance you meet, you'll attain your dreams. Your dreams are greater than your fears. You'll accomplish anything. But Joey, just with that too, our people are special. We have a special opportunity. NHT is special, but the reason why is because our people are special. And it's been a special day, special time, and it's been a special relationship. So look forward to seeing all of you very, very soon. Certainly see all of you in Paris. I know I've been talking about that a lot. And get yourself qualified. How much more time do we have here for the IRP and the monthly rewards? We have got, Joe, I guess another 36 hours, nearly 48 hours for everyone to qualify.
Well, you and Robin will be in Paris. For those of you who are focused on qualifying for the Paris Incentive.
Yes.
I will be in Mexico in August 11th. Another event in Peru at the end of September. That is yet to be confirmed, but that will be late September, early October. So, and then we have hopefully the Colombia launch ready to go by then. So all great. And the last thing, there's always going to be a last thing here, Dan. But please keep in mind, NHT has invested well over $2 million on a new software technology platform. So we are now positioned like very few companies are globally. It's going to be launched, the first phase will be launching this fall, late fall. We'll have an entire back office, a new app that's going to be tied to that back office, new technologies. So we are going to be positioned like very few companies here in the next 5 to 10 years as AI starts to, already starting. But we'll be able to pivot very quickly from a technology department. It's so critical in today's world. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to really help us get into the next century very quickly and be on the cutting edge of technology. And NHT is committed to doing that with their investment. So Dan, thanks very much for the incredible training. Thank you, everyone. This will be recorded. This has been recorded. It'll be up here in the next couple of days. Have an incredible closing of the month. And for those of you in the summer, hemisphere, in the Western hemisphere, in the Northern hemisphere, have an incredible summer. But think about that one a day that I shared with you today, and great things are going to happen. Have a great evening, great day, everyone. Take care. God bless.
Bye-bye, everybody. See ya.